When most people picture their dream home, they're not starting from scratch. They're starting from memory. Maybe it's that staircase that you ran down as a kid on Christmas Day. Or maybe it's grandma's dining room table that we all gathered at Thanksgiving. Or maybe it's the neighborhood where everybody parked in their garages because they were civilized people. These aren't just memories. They are mental blueprints, and they quietly shape what we believe to be our dream home and what it should look like. But here's the twist. Your grandparents' life looks nothing like yours today, and that changes everything. Hey, I'm Adam Stinespring. I'm a realtor in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I've seen this interesting trend over the years. I want you to think about your grandparents' lifestyle. It was pretty rigid. They usually had one household income, very clear division of roles, dinner at 6, everybody's in bed by 10, rinse and repeat. No technology to interrupt, just one way forward. But think about your routine. Things are a lot more flexible. Your kids are doing many sports, and maybe there's homeschool, there's Zoom calls at all hours, running errands at very, very weird hours, and rooms in the house are now offices and guest rooms and storage all in the same room. Truth is, our grandparents did not live this lifestyle. And this blueprint in our head of our dream home, it was built for their rhythms and not ours. I once toured a home with a young couple, and the number one thing on their wish list was a formal dining room. And I always ask out of curiosity, I said, how much will you actually use this room? They looked at each other and they just chuckled and said, probably twice a year. That's where the disconnect is. We're wanting these features that were designed for another time in history. And of course, we got to talk about status, because when people describe their dream home, it's almost always loaded with social signals. Maybe it's the double height foyer or that spa tub that you will probably only use a few times a year, or it's that all white kitchen that almost definitely starts to feel like a museum. And these aren't functional choices, they're just cultural symbols. And somehow it's supposed to tell everyone who visits our home that we made it. But here's the irony. The more that we design our homes to impress outsiders, the less that it tends to connect us when we're inside of it. And of course, we've talked about this before, but we got to talk about cultural conditioning, because HGTV and magazines for years have been telling us what a real home is supposed to look like, with the granite countertops and the big islands and the huge walk-in closets. And also, somewhere along the way, square footage became a shorthand for success. Not connection, not purpose, not alignment, just square footage. And without realizing it, we've inherited the mindset like we've inherited old furniture. Yeah, it's probably pretty comfortable, but it doesn't really fit. So what happens when you chase someone else's dream? Well, you end up with more space than you'll use, more projects you won't finish, probably more debt than you could handle, and way less satisfaction than you expect. The house looks like a dream, but living in it, it's a different story. So let's flip the script. What if your dream home wasn't about status and it was about story? A real dream home doesn't just give you a place to sleep. It gives you a place to belong. I've seen it over and over with clients that the homes that they fall in love with aren't the biggest or the fanciest. They're just the ones where something feels right. Maybe it's the backyard where they see their kids having their birthday parties, or the hallway where they imagine their babies taking their first steps. Or maybe it's the living room where they imagine ending the day in peace. That's the magic. A dream home doesn't just check off boxes, it supports your life. So here's the question to take with you. Is this house that you've constructed in your head actually fit the life you want? Or is it the life that someone told you you were supposed to want? If it's unclear, then it's definitely time to slow down, because the goal isn't just to buy a house. It's to find a place where your story can unfold, where memories are made, where your marriage grows strong, where your kids feel safe, and where your values are reflected in every wall. That is the kind of home worth dreaming about.